It's called The Sadness of Old Age. It stars our oldest member, Clint, who's joined by his wife, Pat. Clint's 96 years old and is recovering from a fall recently that broke 2 of his ribs, so he's not moving too quickly now. But you can't keep that old Marine down.
Actually, it was 4 ribs.
Yeah. 4 ribs. Sorry.
When I went to lunch today, I noticed an old man sitting on a park bench, sobbing his eyes out. I had to stop and ask him why he was so sad.
I have a 22-year-old wife at home. She makes love to me every morning and gets up and makes me pancakes and sausage and fresh fruit and ground coffee for breakfast.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Why are you crying?
She makes me homemade soup for lunch, like Christmas brownies. It makes love to me perhaps that I can do.
Well, it's so wonderful. Why are you crying?
For dinner, he makes me a cornmeal meal with wine and my favorite dessert, and makes love to me until 2 a.m.
She is really a treasure. But if all that, why would you still be crying?
I can't remember where I live.
Sam has been in business for 25 years and is finally sick of the stress. He quits his job and buys 50 acres in Alaska as far from humanity as possible. He sees the postman once a week and gets groceries once a month. Otherwise, it's total peace and quiet. After 6 months or so of almost total isolation, someone knocks on his door. He opens it, and there's a big bearded man standing there.
Name's Lars. Your neighbor from 40 miles away. Having a birthday party. Thought you might like to come. About 5.
Great. After 6 months out here, I'm ready to meet some local folks. Thank you.
Gotta warn you. There's gonna be some drinking.
Not a problem. After 25 years in business, I can drink with the best of them.
More likely, be some fighting too.
Well, I get along with people. I'll be there. Thanks again.
I've seen some wild sex at these parties.
Now, that's really not a problem. I've been all alone for 6 months, and I'll definitely be there. By the way, what should I bring?
Whatever you want. It's just gonna be the 2 of us.
I told you, didn't I? 2004, after the success of the falling down and can't get up skit, another agency from the state of New Hampshire contacted us called the REAP Task Force. REAP stands for Referral, Education, Assistance, and Prevention. They dealt with mental health, substance abuse, depression, and suicide. They didn't have a play. So we had to sit down and write one of our own. Now that's kind of putting things, we hadn't done any writing at that point. We hadn't done the nursing home yet, so off we went trying to tackle that, looking for ideas and coming up with. This next skit was one of those we came up with. It's called I'm Never Getting Out of Bed Again. Dodie and Ann are outside Sue's door trying to get her attention.
Sue,
okay. I'm still in bed.
Sue, it's time to get up. It's 9:30.
I'm never getting out of bed again.
But today's shopping day, and the bus is waiting.
Who cares?
We do. Ann's with me.
Good. Go with her.
Come on, Sue. Don't talk like that. We're going to the malls and wind up at Burger King for all that lunch. You always love to do that.
Hi, Sue. It's me, Ann. We'd love you to come. And that new guy, Tom, across the hall is coming. He thinks you're cute.
Not today, I'm not. I'd much rather stay here with my trusty remote. You two go catch the bus. Then I can be alone and not worry about making anybody happy. I'm tired about caring about people. Nobody cares back.
We wouldn't be standing here yelling through the stupid door if we didn't care.
No one asked you to. Just go. I'll be just fine.
All right, we're leaving, but we haven't given up. We'll see you tomorrow.
Dodie and Ann are worried. This isn't like Sue. They have a number of concerns and they decide to stop by the doctor's office to have a talk about this.
Hi, ladies. How can I help you?
We're worried about Sue, Doctor.
How's she doing? Can you tell me more?
Well, for one thing, she never seems to want to leave her room other than for meals.
Yes, and last night at dinner, she wouldn't hardly talk with us. We had to drag conversation out of her, and that's not like Sue.
Has anything happened to her recently that would trigger this behavior?
Well, you know, she lost her husband almost 2 years ago. She doesn't talk a lot about her kids since Jack and his wife and grandkids moved to the West Coast.
And there's another thing. When she does talk, she's slurring a lot of words, and that's not like her.
That could be a medical condition. Do you know if she's been to another doctor?
I don't think so. The slurring bothered me, so I started sitting around. I know I shouldn't do that, but I had to know. What I found was her trash barrel filled up with empty wine bottles.
Sounds to me like we should set up an appointment with Sue. Thank you, ladies. You've been good friends to bring this to my attention. Thank you.
Tom lives across the hall from Sue. He noticed that she didn't go with her friends, so decides to see if he can get her attention. Tom is in the hall, whistling and singing loudly.
Hey, have you seen the most beautiful man in the world? That's me!
Hey, what's all that noise out there?
Oh, the most beautiful man in the world is here.
I said, what's all that noise?
Oh, are you talking to me?
Yes, I am. I'm trying to sleep in here.
Do you only yell through the doors? I heard you yesterday with your two friends. How about opening it up and being civilized?
For the likes of you, leave me alone.
How do you even know what I'm like? You only heard me. Open the door and you'll see what a handsome devil I am.
I don't think so.
You mean you would miss a chance like this? I could be the second coming of Gregory Peck. Don't remember him. And you'll never know.
What will it take to make you go away?
Simple. Open the door.
Oh, all right. If only to get rid of you. Oh, hello.
Hello yourself. What do you think?
Well, you're nicer looking than I expected.
Told ya. And if I say so myself, I wasn't expecting very much from someone who locks herself away all day. Want to talk?
No, nothing's changed. Now I've seen you. You can go away.
If you think that will work, you've got another thing coming. Again, the most beautiful man in the world is me.
A few days go by, and Dr. Dudley sends a message to Sue that he'd like to see her. She grudgingly gets out of bed and heads for his office.
Good morning, Sue. Thanks for coming in.
wasn't my idea. I'd rather be in bed.
You know, I've heard that's where you've been spending a lot of time lately. Aren't you feeling well?
Well, you can say that again. Nothing seems to be the way it was.
Can you tell me some of the symptoms? Maybe there's a medication that can make you feel better. Are you running a fever?
No, nothing like that. My body feels okay. I just don't have any energy to get up and go anywhere.
So that's just not like you. You were always the one leading the way around here.
I know. Dodie and Ann came to my room the other day wanting to go shopping, and I sent them away. I used to love shopping.
Sue, can you tell me what's going on in your personal life? I know you lost your husband a year or so ago, and that must have been devastating to you. Has anything else happened?
Well, I seem to be handling Bob's loss okay. Then my son Jack told me he had a job transfer to the West Coast. I miss him so, and the grandkids, I want them to be around. They brightened my day so much.
It sounds like you've been dealing with more than your share of heartache. Sue, I'm going to ask you a tough question. What have you been doing to cope with this loneliness?
Nothing, really.
Sue, be honest with me. Have you been using alcohol or something to get by on?
Well, maybe a glass of wine every now and then. Not too much. You understand.
You know, there are better ways to seek help. For one thing, you can see a counselor and talk things through. Then there are medicines that can ease the burden.
Come on, Doc. Take a pill to feel better? I can't believe that.
Well, believe it. I can prescribe something for you right now that will relieve the anxiety of loneliness and get you on the path back to normal again.
You mean I might want to go shopping again?
Yes, yes. And maybe get you back to doing the other things we used to know Sue for.
Okay, Doc. Let's give it a shot.
Let's see if anything Sue has heard has made a difference for her friends. We joined them on a bus trip to the mall.
Once we get to the mall, I'm going to make a beeline for that new gift store. I saw they had a sale on Hallmark stuff.
Now that's the Sue we all used to know.
Isn't it ever? What's gotten into you, girlfriend? Is it this new friend sitting next to you?
Well, Tom has certainly helped. But I also had a long talk with Dr. Dudley, and he prescribed some meds for me. They seem to calm my anxieties and help me to see there are better things to be doing than hanging around the apartment all day.
Yeah, she's something, isn't she? When I moved in a couple of months ago, I saw this pretty, vivacious girl in the cafeteria and decided I wanted to meet her. Then, all of a sudden, she looked like she was in a funk and she disappeared from the world. Looks like she's back.
Yep, I'm back. I got a new cell phone with lots of free minutes, and now I talk to Jack and Molly and the grandkids every day.
Well, it's good to have the old Sue with us again.
Oh, Dodie and Ann, I can't thank you enough for sticking with me, banging on that door to get me out of there. It's a wonder the neighbors didn't call for the cops. And you're just as bad.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you do look a little bit like Gregory Peck.
You know, I'm really glad we went to Dr. Dudley. We got our friend back.
We did.
Back to jokes. We moved to Ireland for our next story. Two women are sitting next to each other at a bar. After a while, one looks at the other and says,
I can't help but think, from listening to you talk, that you're from Ireland.
Oh, I am.
So am I. And whereabouts in Ireland are you from?
Oh, I'm from Dublin, I am.
So am I. What part of Dublin do you live in?
Oh, it's a lovely little area.
We call it the West End.
Saints preserve us! But I lived in the West End also. What street did you live on?
Oh, 'twas on Warbury Street it was.
Faith! And it's a small world, isn't it? I also lived on Warbury Street. And what school did you go to?
Oh, that would have been the Holy Heart of Mary School.
As did I! This is hard to believe. What year did you graduate? And did the sisters let you graduate?
They certainly did. I graduated in 1964.
The good Lord must be smiling down at us. I can hardly believe our good luck had winding up in the same pub tonight. Can you believe it? I graduated from Holy Heart of Mary in 1964 myself.
About this time, Michael walks into the bar, sits down, and orders a beer. Brian, the bartender, walks over to Michael, shaking his head and muttering,
It's gonna be a long night tonight.
Why do you say that, Brian?
The Murphy twins are drunk again.
Dorothy and Edna, two elderly widows, are chatting about things in general. Eventually, they arrive at a place Dorothy wanted to get to, dating.
I understand you were out on a date with George Johnson. How did that go?
It was really fun. Why do you ask?
Well, he asked me out, and I wanted to talk to you about him before I gave him an answer.
Well, I'll tell you. He shows up at my apartment punctually at 7 p.m., dressed like a gentleman in a fine suit and brings me beautiful flowers. Then he takes me downstairs, and then there was this luxury car, a limousine, uniformed chauffeur, and we jumped in and off we go to this amazing restaurant, very expensive, marvelous dinner. Lobster, champagne, dessert, dinner drinks. From there, we go to see a show. Let me tell you, Dorothy, I enjoyed it so much, I could have died for pleasure.
Well, I guess I know what my answer will be.
Wait, there's more? When we got back to my apartment, I was so happy I invited him up for a cup of coffee. Then he turns into an animal. Completely crazy. He tears off my expensive new dress, and he has his way with me 2 times.
Goodness gracious, Edna. So you're telling me I shouldn't go out with him?
No. I'm just saying, wear an old dress.
Besides working state agencies, the other mission that Senior Motors has taken on itself is to go out and do outreach in senior citizens' homes. Basically what we did is in the month of January, we went out and adopted 3 or 4 places, depending on which year we're talking about. And we went in once a week for 4 weeks and put together and asked the activities people to give us some people to work with. 4 or 5 would be fine. Anything more than that was wonderful. We would go in on the first week and have them read for us, and we would go back after that the next day, or the next week, and we put together a show for the people that came there, depending on how many males and females and what we heard the people read. Second week we went back and gave them the show, had them read through it in their new roles. Third week they rehearsed, and the fourth week they put on a show for the residents where they live. Now this year we did that at Langdon Place in Dover, Kittery Estates in Kittery, obviously, and the York Senior Citizens Center. Now, I was a little hesitant to go to York because we'd always gone to places where people lived, so we knew the people were going to be there. In New York, we didn't know that. They were all independent. They just showed up for lunch and stuff like that. So we have with us 2 of those people in New York that came there. As a matter of fact, at least one of them, and I think Rosemary came in late.
Yeah,
that day. We're playing Scrabble. No, we're playing dominoes. The other group was playing Scrabble. And we convinced them to come in and do some acting with us. So Fern Dendero and Rosemary Palevi are going to do a skit for you now.
We meet our cast of characters. Joan, a strongly opinionated hairdresser, and June, a vivacious retired school teacher. Scene 1, the Pink Geranium Hair Salon. June is sitting in a hairdressing chair and Joan is doing June's hair.
I need a really special new look. I'm going to Rome with John on a once-in-a-lifetime vacation.
Rome? You're going to Rome of all places? It is very dirty there. The streets and gutters are full of paper and trash. The birds fly overhead and drop on you. And the noise is terrible. And worst of all, men pinch you on the behind.
Oh my, I never heard anything like that about Rome. Well, anyway, we are staying at the famous hotel Roma di Granda. The brochure is just beautiful.
Of all things, you picked one of the worst hotels in Europe. My sister was there 3 years ago and only stayed one night. The bed mattresses are like rag stuffed pillows. The toilets don't work. And there was infestation in the closets. You better cancel your reservation for that hotel.
Well, a high point of our trip is our opportunity to visit the Vatican. Maybe we will see the Pope.
See the Pope? You'll see the Pope all right. If you're lucky, you may see a little white speck up on his balcony. My sister never even got into the viewing area. All you will see is thousands of people with screaming kids and lots of smelly dogs underfoot.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad you're finished. I need to go home and pack.
Have a nice vacation. Come in and see me when you return. I want to hear all about your trip to Rome.
Scene 2, 3 weeks have passed. The scene opens at the Pink Geranium Hair Salon.
Well, for heaven's sakes, you're back, June. How did you and your hubby get along in Italy?
We had a fabulous time. It was the best vacation we ever had. Rome had just cleaned up after the Festival of the Virgin. All the time I was there, not even one man pinched me.
Well, you were sure lucky. How was the Hotel di Granda?
It was purchased last year by a new owner, and everything was perfect. The mattresses, the furniture. Oh, we just loved our stay there.
Huh. I watched the worldwide weather news on the internet while you were gone, and I noticed that it rained the whole 2 weeks you were in Italy. I can't imagine that you saw the Pope.
You will not believe what happened to me. When our group went to the Vatican, it was raining. So I was walking on a covered walk, and this man stopped me, asked me if I was an American. I told him yes. So he took me up to the Pope's private chambers, because the Pope likes to talk to Americans, you know. And I kneeled down in front of him and waited for his blessing, and...
What did he say? What did he say?
He said, "Where did you get that lousy haircut?"
Please stay with us, come back, the best is yet to come. We, every year, go in once or twice a year to the University of New Hampshire and perform for sociology class and kids who are thinking of becoming social workers. And it's probably the highlights of the year for us to see those kids take in everything that seniors are. So we try to demonstrate to them when you become a senior, you don't have to wait for bingo game break out. You want to be doing stuff. And one of the things we found in studies is that the one activity that seniors can be engaged in, which has the most positive outcome, is theater. Because it engages the emotional parts, the physical parts, it does everything that you would want to help seniors to become more active. This skit is the result of a lot of thinking about that. We do it for that reason. We also do it for another very special reason. Since this skit was written in 2004, Kenny McNabb has played the part of Jeff every single time we have performed it. But you gotta know Ken McNabb. In the mid-90s, Ken needed a liver transplant. And being on the list and waiting, the medical people decided that he couldn't become active or stay active, so he was in a coma for a year, waiting for the liver to come available for him. When that year was over, and the liver was obviously successfully transplanted, Ken lost his short-term memory. He can't remember what he had for breakfast, but he has the greatest memory for stories that you can imagine. All you gotta do is get in a car with Kenny, and you'll hear stories from when he was in high school, worked at the Navy Yard, did the countless things that Ken does. He's a very special guy, and he's one of my heroes in life because of what he has gone through. And he credits Senior Moments for being a huge part of his rehab from that liver transplant. So, now you're going to meet Alice and Betty, Charlie and Jeff, doing what best friends do, getting together and chatting.
Oh, what a wonderful surprise. It's so good to see you.
Oh, my daughter's off doing some shopping and dropped me off.
I do so treasure these visits. They're never as often or as long as I'd like. I feel so lonely being here all by myself. Oh, there are neighbors, but it's just not the same.
I know. I can't drive and I can't get anywhere without a ride from my daughter. She said she'd be back in an hour to pick me up.
Our kids are just so busy today.
I know. Mary can't do anything without checking her calendar.
No one asks me anything anymore, and I have lots of answers.
Yes, but not always for the questions people ask.
My dad and grandfather were so smart.
How smart were they?
Okay, wise guy. I always asked them for help when I got stuck on something, and they always knew what to do. Then they taught me how to do it.
We never had a day full of appointments when we were young. Remember those days when we'd shop all day long?
Oh, yes. As soon as the kids left for school, we'd be in the car and on the road.
And sometimes we'd even take the train to Boston.
We'd rush to Eileen's basement and join the crowd, waiting for them to open the doors.
Oh, I will never forget the fight you got into with that woman who tried to take that sweater away from you. You were fierce.
I didn't care what she said. I picked it up first.
My dad could fix anything, electrical, and he taught me to. But my son just calls someone to come in and fix it, because I don't know anything about that stuff. I gave up trying to help, and now I just sit in my chair and keep quiet.
If I do try to repair something, my son or daughter tells me, "You don't need to bother with those things anymore, Dad. It's your time to rest and enjoy life."
So here we are, sitting and enjoying.
We'd shop all day and we never got tired.
And we'd go to Woolworth's counter for lunch.
A grilled cheese sandwich, cup of coffee, and then a hot fudge sundae. Oh, how I miss those days.
I could fix any car on the road. Have you looked under the hood of these cars today? I can't find anything I recognize under there.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? They say they're run by computer today.
Don't get me started on those things. My son bought me a computer and told me it would help me pass the time. Gave me some things to do to get me started, and away he went. Now about the only thing I can do is get started. After that, I'm sending screens that want something I don't know how to give them. I can't spend every day calling someone for help. So the damn thing just sits there and collects dust.
Can't you still drive? I never see you around a car.
Nah, they sold my car on me. Told me I shouldn't be out there with my eyes failing. Hell, I could still see the white lines okay.
It was all over for me when they took my driver's license away.
Betty, I have to ask you, do you sometimes feel really sad? I mean, I find myself thinking back on those days, and I feel such a pain right here.
I do the same. And when I hear children outside the house, close my eyes and see my own when they were that age, and sometimes I cry.
I do too. And then I feel like such an old fool.
When the stripers were running, I get my gear and head for the beach. Get one of them on your hook and you got a job on your hands. Now, I can't get anyone to drive me there.
I used to know this old guy who was stuck in the house all the time. He'd say, "You're so lucky you have your car, 'cause you can come and go as you please." I never really understood what he meant.
I'd leave work and sometimes stop by the Legion Hall to have a beer with the guys. We talk about the war, or politics, or sports. No more.
When we were younger, we never told anyone how we felt. When I was really low or even sick, I'd smile and say, "I'm fine," but I always had you.
Speaking of feeling low, postpartum blues they call it today. But back then, it was frightening. "Pull yourself together, girl," everyone would say. "What do you have to feel depressed about? You've just had a beautiful baby girl." I would feel so guilty.
We weren't supposed to feel down, and we certainly weren't supposed to talk about it. If it weren't for you, I would have thought I was the only one who ever felt that way. It was always put on a happy face. Sometimes that was so hard to do.
And I couldn't have made it without you. I know we can talk to each other over the phone, but it's just not the same. I miss those times when we sat together drinking tea and helping each other through the bad times in our lives. Oh, we're getting altogether too depressed here.
Do you remember that time when Janet told everyone you dyed your hair? You were so mad at her.
And you told her to mind her own business, and you wouldn't speak to her for a whole month.
A month wasn't long enough.
Hey Jeff, how are things at home? Is the missus still having problems with her back?
Yeah. She has a good day and a bad day. She's off her feet today, so I have to remember to get some tea and other stuff at the store before I go home. How about you? Are you living alone? Yeah. Is living alone getting any better?
I'm not sure I'll ever get used to it. Since my wife passed, the days seem okay, but the nights are pretty lonely.
Well, remember, I'm always there if you want to talk to someone. You have my phone number, don't you?
Can I ask you a serious question?
Anytime.
Did you ever think about ending it all? There's a loneliness and the old body hurting in places it never did before and still does the next day. And I take all kinds of pills to keep me going, and there aren't a hell of a lot of things to do anymore.
Have you talked to anyone about this?
I'm talking to you, ain't I?
Yeah, but that's not what I mean. Have you talked to anyone who knows about who you should talk to?
Come on, Jeff. I don't want to go to one of those shrink people. They don't know me. You do. And we talk about so many things. Can't this just be another one of them? So answer me. Have you ever thought about ending it all?
Well, to be honest, no. In spite of all the things we bitch about, I'd rather be sitting on the bench bitching than the alternate. Hell, I want to be around long enough to see if they catch the bunch of crooks who are messing up this country today.
That makes a certain amount of sense. Guess I'll put those thoughts on the back burner. You know, it's good to have you to talk to. Remember the old days? People never talked about their problems. Don't air your dirty laundry, they preached. So we all went around all the time with smiles on our faces.
Yeah, and our kids expect us to do that today. What have you to feel sorry for yourself about? We give you a good home, so we smile and go about our business. Hey, old buddy, we're getting kind of glum here. How about those Red Sox?
Now I'm really depressed. Guess we shouldn't complain. Our kids love us, even though they don't understand us. And we've got a good home and good meals.
I'll never forget the time you bought that blue dress to wear to the dance at the Elks Hall. Janet showed up in the same dress. She took one look at you and left.
I think it took her 2 months that time to speak to me again.
I don't cook anymore. It's no fun to cook for one. Meals on wheels, canned soup and toast, that's it.
If you and I lived in the same building, we could cook for each other.
And we could have tea and play cribbage and talk for hours.
Well, it's time I head home. The wife will be looking for me. Sometimes I swear she treats me like a kid. She's afraid I'll lose my way home.
Okay, buddy. See you tomorrow. Same place, same time. And don't forget to take a left on Main Street this time. And don't forget to pick up that tea.
Oh, that's my daughter. She told me to come right down when she rang the bell. She has a meeting at 3.
I'll call you tomorrow.
In our next story, let's let the characters introduce themselves.
My name is Alice Smith. I was sitting in the waiting room for my first appointment with a new dentist. I noticed the DDS diploma, which bore his full name. Suddenly I remembered a tall, handsome, dark-haired boy with the same name from my high school class some 40 years ago. Could that be the same guy that I had a secret crush on way back then? Upon seeing him, however, I quickly discarded such thoughts. This balding, gray-haired man with the deeply lined face was way too old to have been in my class. After he examined my teeth, I asked him if he had attended Morgan Park High School.
Well, yes, I did. I'm a Mustang.
When did you graduate?
In 1969. Why do you ask?
You were in my class. He looked at me very closely. And then that ugly old bald, wrinkled, fat, decrepit son of a bitch asked,
"What did you teach?"
Maud and Claude met at the Senior Singles Club meeting. Over time, they discovered that they enjoyed each other's company. Let them tell their own story. We'll join them at their favorite restaurant, where they've just finished a delightful meal.
You know, Maud, I really liked you from the first time we met.
Same here. We did get along quite well, right from the start.
And to think of all the cups of coffee we drank on our early dates.
And all the muffins we ate.
Calories.
Well, the good news is the calories didn't seem to settle in places that were inconvenient.
You know, Maud, we've always ended our times together by leaving each other and heading home. Would you like to come to my place for a nightcap?
I think that's a terrific idea.
So off they went to Claude's place. Things continued along a natural course, and age being no inhibitor, Maud soon joined Claude for a most enjoyable roll in the hay. As they were basking in the glow of their magic moments they shared, each expressed their own thoughts.
That was wonderful. But I have to confess, if I had known that you were a virgin, I would have been much gentler.
Don't feel bad, Claude. If I'd known you could still do it, I would have taken off my pantyhose.